Good evening, Canada, and lawyers paid to watch this show to sue me later. How you doing? This is Uninterrupted. I'm me, and you're you. Tonight we have a great show. We got a new leader. Erin O'Toole is in, but the Liberal Party is mad about Derek Sloan. Very mad that Derek Sloan exists. Derek Sloan exists, and he must be deported to the sun. And if he isn't sent to the sun, then everyone is racist. Also, Justin Trudeau did blackface. So here we have Erin O'Toole, our new leader. Wait a minute. Is that Yusuf Kawadawi, spiritually the Muslim brother to Erin O'Toole? No, can we get put up a picture of Erin O'Toole, the new Conservative Party leader. Okay, guys, seriously, this isn't professional. Get a picture of Erin O'Toole, not some, come on, get Erin O'Toole. There we go. So here we have new Conservative Party leader, Erin O'Toole. So Erin O'Toole is in, and he is facing his first challenge, which is he must get rid of Derek Sloan. Now, there's a bit of background to this that we're going to go into in the coming weeks. Erin O'Toole's leadership coronation, the vote counting machine tore up 4,000 ballots, no 5,000 ballots, no 30,000 ballots, no 5% of the ballots, and kept going on. I've spoken to some people who have been in the printing business, who know how these machines work, and let's just say it does not add up, the story from the Conservative Party, that a machine just tore all these ballots and nothing happened. However, we're going to launch a full investigation, and I'm going to come back at you with an actual breakdown of what possibly could and could not have happened, and we'll give it some time for maybe some Conservative Party insiders to debate the story given out there. All right, so throw that away. Now we have Erin O'Toole. He's the leader, and we all know Erin O'Toole and I don't get along, but we're putting it aside. We're just going to cover the news. I'll say when he's right. I'm with him on trade. I'm with him on partnering with CANZUC, Australia, New Zealand, UK. We should be partnering with them. So here's Erin O'Toole's first test. Let's bring up what the Liberal Party is very mad at right now. So the Liberal Party is saying this: Erin O'Toole needs to show leadership by removing Conservative MP Derek Sloan from his caucus and refusing to sign his nomination papers as Conservative candidate. Add your name if you agree. So this is what the Liberal Party is going on. They're very concerned that Derek Sloan is in the Liberal Party. And even our defense minister, Harjit Sajjan, let's see, he's jumped on the train here, right? Harjit Sajjan, you have him up in the corner here. He is also calling on Derek Sloan to be removed because he's very, very mad at people with extremist ideas being in government. And my advice to Erin O'Toole, because if you're watching this show, or if people on your senior team are paying lawyers to watch this show and then referring it to you, my suggestion to you, a great defense to this, is you fire back at Harjit Sajjan. You will look at cleaning up the Conservative Party of Canada after the Liberal Party clears its entire cabinet of Khalistani extremists. No particular accusations against anyone, but remember when Liberal MP backbencher Rami Sangha came out last year and said that the cabinet of the Liberal Party is capitulating to Khalistani extremism. They said there's Khalistani extremists. A Liberal said this. Liberal MP said the cabinet of the Liberal Party is full of Khalistani extremists. So wait, hold up there. Let's wait before we get to Marwan Tabro. We'll bring him back up soon. He's not a Khalistani extremist. He's another guy. So the Khalistani movement, which some of you may be familiar with, some of you are not. If I have Indian followers, you're probably like, Khalistanis, they're trying to kill us all. Yeah. If you're Canadian, you're probably like, what is that? Is that a Justin Trudeau thing? Kind of. So the worst terrorist attack in Canadian history is the Air India bombing. That was done by Khalistani extremists. The Indian government is under the impression that we are sort of the international home of the Khalistani movement, which is an opinion I share as well. So the Liberal Party wants to kick Derek Sloan out because of his comments for Dr. Theresa Tam. And before we litigate them, I'll just say, bring back Marwan Tabra. Here's someone that the Liberal Party is not concerned about kicking out. Yes, Liberal MP Marwan Tabra. Where's the Liberal outrage for Marwan Tabra and his comments? Just to recap, what he did is months ago, he was found, there's a police report where he was found to have stalked his ex-girlfriend and her then boyfriend for months, went into their home and beat the hell out of them. So is that worse than criticizing Dr. Theresa Tam or better? Now, it gets more interesting because we learned that in the 2015 Liberal campaign, this man was accused of, there was an investigation which found the complaints to be valid, that he was sexually harassing female staffers. Remember, there was a zero-tolerance policy. Justin Trudeau is a feminist, the most feminist female feminist that ever feminized the feminism, okay? The most feminist prime minister ever. A zero-tolerance policy. That didn't include sexual harassment from Myron Tabra. So they investigate him in 2015, find it's valid, and their zero-tolerance policy allows him to run again in 2019. He then stalks his ex-girlfriend, beats her up, and he's still around. Where's the liberal outrage? Where is the liberal outrage? Don't worry, I guarantee you, there's no way the Liberal Party would ever be hypocritical. So I'm going to refresh Twitter right now, and I guarantee you guys, 100% guarantee, there will be some outrage right now from the Liberal Party. They're going to be talking about how sexual abuse is wrong, and they're going to clean up their movement. No. What do we got? Iqra Khalid patting a dog. Turns out they still don't care about sexual harassment inside their own party. But Derek Sloan is evil. Derek Sloan is so evil. How evil is Derek Sloan, guys? Well, let's recap what he did. Derek Sloan criticized Dr. Theresa Tam, which means he hates all Chinese people everywhere from China. And criticizing Derek Sloan means you hate all white people everywhere and everyone in Canada, of course. No. So we went over, let's relitigate what happened in the ballot of Derek Sloan versus the insane left. Derek Sloan, tongue-in-cheek, asked if Dr. Theresa Tam was working for China. Now, this was after he clearly outlined different points where she was repeating communist propaganda, or what we would call the World Health Organization. If you remember at the beginning of the pandemic, Dr. Theresa Tam had some interesting ideas like masks don't work, and she said, you know what? Bringing people in from hot spots of outbreaks during a pandemic. Again, the hot spots of an outbreak during a pandemic, taking people from the disease hotspot, bringing them into your country, nothing wrong with that. No, that it wouldn't help to just not bring people in from Wuhan. I'm from Wuhan. Bring them in, no mask needed, just throw them in. If you remember at the beginning, there was no airport screening coming back in. I knew people who had come up to Canadian Customs in the beginning of the pandemic, when no one knew what was going on, reporting that they felt that they had a fever, they felt sick. Come on through. Self-reporting. Nah, come on in. Where are you from? Wuhan. Blood dripping out of their eyes. Nah, come on in. Come on in, lick someone you like. That's Canada. So this was Dr. Theresa Tam. Now, I had made the video defending Dr. Sloan because we had the World Health Organization with their infamous January 14th tweet where they were saying, hey, there's no human-to-human transmission of the coronavirus. And the reason they said that is because it is quite clear that the World Health Organization is in the pocket of the CCP. So at every step, the World Health Organization was clearly a propaganda arm of the Chinese government, right? They wouldn't even acknowledge that Taiwan exists. Sorry, I don't mean the Chinese government. I mean the province of Western Taiwan. Xi Jinping, premier of the province of Western Taiwan. There's no such thing as China. It's called Western Taiwan. So when Western Taiwan wanted to, put out whatever propaganda saying, oh yeah, there's no human-to-human transmission of the coronavirus, right? Even when they said there was an outbreak, millions of people were traveling out of Wuhan daily. No, it's fine. Oh, and that's fine, right? Then when, there's no need for masks. Then we were taking the Chinese numbers as absolute fact. And I said, at the time, it said, okay, China had said they had 83,000 cases of coronavirus at the time. If you believe China just had 83,000 cases total, I got a bridge to tell you. But for months, they have not had a new case. It stopped there. The height of the disease just stopped. And we were using World Health Organization data to predict and model what we should be doing in Canada. The problem was at the time, it was clear the World Health Organization was absolutely corrupt on the issue, right? Masks don't work, masks do work. Don't, the biggest, remember, okay. So I understand the left-wing Americans and, the lefties in my family when they say, Donald Trump mishandled the disease, didn't take it seriously when it first happened. You know what? When the coronavirus first happened, Donald Trump did what he always did. He tried to defeat it on Twitter. He tried tweeting at the disease. He gave it a silly nickname. He went after it. He called it mean names. And you can't tweet away the coronavirus. I wish you could. If tweets could cure cancer, Donald Trump would win a Nobel Prize. Now, that didn't work. But no one really remembers, at the time that Donald Trump was not taking the virus seriously, The number one priority of John Tory, Doug Ford, Justin Trudeau, Dr. Theresa Tam, Patty Hajdu was stopping racism against the Chinese community. Now, don't be racist against the Chinese community or anyone. Don't attack a Chinese person. But Justin Trudeau and John Tory were heading down to Chinatown, basically telling people, if you're not in Chinatown right now walking around, you're a racist. That was their priority. So it wasn't just Donald Trump trying to say, oh, don't shut down the economy. We can't be closing business. Everyone keep going. We'll get through this. You know, I'm going to call it a weird name on Twitter. Whatever. Standard Donald Trump. Justin Trudeau didn't close the borders, didn't do anything. Donald Trump acted before Trudeau. Yes, Donald Trump spent a week and a half being silly. But Justin Trudeau spent a month and a half being a ridiculous buffoon, talking about how we need open borders and you know, we need to go to Chinatown and lick the sidewalks. That was his coronavirus plan. And no one gives him flack for that. So I had said that Derek Sloan did nothing wrong because when Dr. Theresa Tam, and this applies to Patty Hajdu and Justin Trudeau as well, when they were obviously parroting communist propaganda, not going with the real numbers of diseases, that was undermining Canadian interests. They were putting Canadians at risk with bad medical advice, right? So it was a very legitimate question to ask of Trudeau, Hajdu, and Tam, are you guys working for the Chinese government or are you working for Canada? You know what? And oh, you can't call Dr. Theresa Tam a Chinese agent because she was born in Hong Kong. Yes, you can. She's like, one, stop this. Anyone in government, especially if you're a high-ranking position, a minister, prime minister, especially when you get to that level, all criticism is valid, right? Unless, you know, if you're going off yelling at a black person using the N-word, okay, yeah, that's racist. But if the person in China in charge of Canada's health system is parroting communist propaganda of the Chinese government, passing that off as health advice to Canadians, you can say, hey, what country are you working for here? And that applied to Justin Trudeau and Patty Hajdu as well. So now, the Liberals are trying to get Derek Sloan, that he must be kicked out of caucus because he's racist. Where was this before? Right? It's so obviously a calculated political move to hit Erin O'Toole. And this is Erin O'Toole's first major test. And I'm going to cheer for Erin O'Toole. I hope he proves me wrong. I hope he proves me wrong. Right? I was told by all the rich cowards, community leaders, all the rich community leaders, community leaders were telling me, don't worry, yes, we know there's some bad actors inside the O'Toole campaign, but he's just doing that until he becomes leader. When Erin O'Toole becomes the leader, he's going to kick all the bad elements out of the party. He's going to pew, 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 go bam. You know, Erin O'Toole's just going to knock them all out, day one. So if you haven't heard a lot of Erin O'Toole, expect massive layoffs inside the Conservative Party as every extremist is just picked up by Erin O'Toole and tossed out the window in a flurry of Canadian patriotism. If that doesn't happen, it would mean that all those rich idiot cowards, community leaders, might have been delusional and not really known what they were talking about, had their heads in the sand, but that's impossible. Could you imagine a community leader, a self-proclaimed community leader, having their head in the sand on an issue of national security? Impossible. Impossible. So this is Erin O'Toole's first test. Will he unequivocally back Derek Sloan? Will he say, I'm against cancel culture, right? His whole, I'm for free speech. Everyone shut up. Derek Sloan did nothing wrong. Free speech. I'm not kicking people out of caucus for criticizing Dr. Theresa Tam. Dr. Theresa Tam's a big girl. She can put on her big girl pants and fight her own battles. We're not doing this. He could fight back and say, oh, racism. How about blackface? How about Captain Blackface? You know, fire back. I'd love to see O'Toole come out, guns blazing, firing back, standing up for conservative values, defending Derek Sloan supporters, defending Derek Sloan, saying there's nothing wrong, and telling the Liberals to go shove it. That would be amazing. That would be amazing if he comes out guns a-blazing. Right now, he's not saying anything. Maybe the rich idiots, community leaders were right, and maybe he's just too busy taking all the extremists in the Conservative Party and everyone with connections to the Muslim Brotherhood, the Khalistani movement, or the CCP, and tossing them out a window right now, planning his big purge, cleaning up the Conservative Party, as I was told multiple times. That was Erin O'Toole's plan. He's just working with the extremists to get elected, so when he gets elected, he's then gonna throw them all out. I'm sure that's what's happening, guys. I'm sure that's why he's silent right now, and he's just getting ready to just come out guns a-blazing, be the conservative he promised. He's true and blue. Pew, pew, pew. But we'll see. So I'm cheering for him. Derek Sloan did nothing wrong. Erin O'Toole, I would absolutely love to come up here every week and praise you for the great true blue work you're doing. Just give me something to cheer for, right? When you're right on trade, you're right on trade, and I'll cheer for you. I hope you're right on Derek Sloan as well. I hope. Do the right thing. I'll make a video. Praise Erin O'Toole for being true and blue. Just be true blue. Be who you say you were. Probably stop suing me, and I'll praise your work. Okay. Thank you. If you want to support me in the lawsuit against Erin O'Toole and friends, click the link below. All right. So, our next story is the shooting in America. And, before we bring up any images, just hold up on that. I'm just going to give everyone a bit of a background on, I believe it's Jacob Blake. So, there's the old saying. There are three sides to every story. Your side, my side, and the truth. And I would really love, if I had to sort of brainwash everyone in North America and get one thing into their head, I hope it'd be that, all right? I really hate the polarization, the violence that came out of this. I hate that people have to die by the police. No one wants Jacob Blake dead. No one wants him in critical condition. He should not have been shot. He should not have been there. But we need to go over some of the facts of this case. So I don't want to show the shooting because it's, I just don't want those images up here. But what happened is the police were called. The original story. So I'll just give, your side, my side, and the truth. Let's give the your side, okay? Or mine, whatever you want to call it. Side A, right? The initial narrative that came out. They were saying Jacob Blake was trying to break up a fight between two women. As he was trying to break up the fight, police came. They tried to do it. Jacob Blake was walking away from the police. As he was walking away from the police, as they were trying to arrest him, he goes into his car. And as he goes into the car, they empty a couple of rounds into him, right? And the narrative is he was just walking away from the police. He wasn't being violent. He wasn't armed. And they killed him in cold blood because the police are racist and they hate all the black people. Everyone peacefully protest. Side A. Side B. What came out later is Jacob Blake had a criminal history, okay? Past is in the present. But he had a history of rape, assault, resisting arrest, assaulting police officers. The other side is the police were called on him because he was outside a woman's house who he was not allowed to be outside of. He had violated a restraining order. She had called the police because he had her keys, apparently, and was threatening her. They come. They see that there's an arrest warrant out for this man. He has a history of assaulting police officers. He has a history of sexual violence, and he is out there violating a restraining order. They try and arrest him. Their claim is he was not listening to non-lethal means. He was walking away with them, and he had openly stated, I'm going to kill you. There's a gun in my car. He goes into his car. Then they kill him. Now, if that side is true, if side B is true, right, then it's justified. Now, what is the truth? We don't know that yet, right? We should wait for the truth to come out. I would have loved if everyone, when George Floyd died, said, okay, this is horrible. Let's just wait a week. Let's let cooler heads prevail, and we can march. But in a week, let's talk about what actually happened, because it is true that he did have a criminal record. It is true the cops are called on him. Did he say these things? Now, the evidence against side A, which is he was so innocent, is the fact of he had a previous criminal record, and if he was truly trying to break up a fight between two women and the police showed up, you think he'd be like, thank you, officers, for coming. This had happened. If they say, hey, man, get it down on the ground, he would have said, okay, wait, I was just doing this, right? He would have sat there calmly and explained and said, I was just trying to break this up. Instead, we lead this, and we learn about his criminal history. So that's probably not true. Now, the evidence against side B is that story is almost too good to be true, right? If it happens exactly the way the other side said it happens, then the shooting is totally justified. But there's probably a middle ground, right? We don't know the truth yet, which is why everyone should take a deep breath. But deep breaths and counting to 10, that is not how we do things here in 2020. Instead, we get this lovely headline from the New York Times. Let's just drive everyone crazy. So bring up this. Yes. Peaceful marches in Kelowna, Wisconsin against police shooting of black man gives way to fires and destruction. Just gives way. It's so peaceful, just everything gets destroyed and fires go around. It was so peaceful. And as I said, this is called intersectional peacefulness. And people don't understand intersectional peace. See, what happens is when something is so peaceful, right, it gets more and more peaceful, it coalesces and strengthens and actually becomes physical, solid matter of peace. Then there's another thing. When things are so ideologically pure, when there's such ideological purity to an idea, so if it aligns perfectly with the New York Times editorial board, which is the most moral place in the entire world, they know everything and they're right about everything, and we should always listen to them, you get the same thing. So if it's so morally pure, it also coalesces into physically matter. So when you get something so peaceful and morally pure, right, the more morally pure and peaceful something gets, it gets, they coalesce and they rub together, and it's friction, and then that creates a spark, and things just start spontaneously combusting. That's how peaceful protests leave and just give way to fires and destruction, according to the scientists at the New York Times. Now, if you thought that was total BS, here's a video of what might have actually happened, and here's a video of peacefulness. So much peace. Okay, so as you see, these are peaceful protesters peacefully protesting these cars. Now, these cars are clearly, see, there's a white car right there. That means that car is racist. That's a racist car. Okay. We've seen this video of people just smashing cars, and there's fires all over Wisconsin. This is what's driving everyone nuts. What a better way to just make everyone effing crazy. What better way than to say, this is peace, right? War is peace, strength is ignorance. Okay. How do you expect people to react? I mean, Sean King and all the other white people on his side might just go, yes, it's peaceful. They said it was peaceful. It's so peaceful, the police are the real violent ones. Again, no one wants Jacob Blake to die. No one wants anyone to get shot. We'd love to live in that utopia where peace and love, and we don't even need police, and we can have, community, organizers respond to civil disputes. That would be nice. It's not the world we live in. Okay, so when we try and say that is peace, people go crazy. And then what happened the next day is you had a situation where people saw those riots, people then showed up to defend their property, armed with AR-15s, and I'm not going to show you the shooting, but 2 people died because they had assaulted someone with an AR-15 who's been arrested and charged with murder. So the guy who shot the Antifa people who were attacking him has been charged with murder. You can see, though, he did get shot at. He did shoot a guy who had a handgun. You see a handgun. The other thing is he is on the ground. Someone whacks him with a skateboard. Someone tries to take his gun off of him. Then he shoots them, right? That looks pretty much like self-defense. But now we have everyone going crazy. Now, I already know what's going to happen on my next Friday night dinner with my left-wing American family. They're going to talk about Trump's rhetoric is radicalizing people and turning people to violence. It's Trump's fault that Antifa is burning people down. You really think it's Trump's fault that people see their city burning down? They see cars getting smashed. They hear the mob saying, we're coming for you. You're next. We're going to get you. And some people are going to grab an AR-15 and try and defend themselves. It's what's going to happen. That's why America has the Second Amendment. Man. I mean, it's so starkly obvious what's going to happen, right? And you already see all the white people like Sean King, who is a leader of the white community. I mean, no one speaks more for white people than Sean King, a leader of the white community, Talcum X. Just going off, threatening to dox police officers and all that. But, I mean, can we at least admit that it's not everyone who's on your side is morally pure, everyone against you is evil? Because I know I'm going to hear from my far left, not even that far left, American family, I can't believe what Trump is doing to our society. Trump did this. Trump took the gun and shot those black men, and Trump inspired violence. And we're just going to ignore the fact that the night before, there were riots, the city was burned down, people were smashing cars, the mob said, we're coming for you. We're coming for you. No justice, no peace. We're coming for you. We're going to burn your house down. We're going to destroy your property. And then people defended themselves, and it's like, Trump is inspiring violence. Oh my God. Right? So this is the world we live in, and it's driving everyone crazy. Now, you want to see a crazy world? This is where we're getting to. So how do we solve racial tension? I don't know. Should we accost random people on the street and make them do the Black Power sign? So let's see video number 1 of where we're going today in the Weimar America. So here we have an instance of, here's a Black Lives Matter activist, and there's a bunch of people around. They're making everyone, as you see on the patio, do the Black Lives Matter symbol, fist pump, right? They're giving, right, everyone must do Black Lives Matter. And this couple said, no, we're not going to go down with that, right? This is crazy. And you say, oh, that's just a one-off. That just happened once. It did not just happen once. Let's do video number 2, right? Here we have a bunch of Sean Kings as white people, so Black Lives Matter, the core Black Lives Matter, which is white people, random white liberals, and they're just doing the same thing. They're all getting in this person's face, screaming at her, "You must do the black power symbol or else..." What? What? Right, okay. Let's say everyone in a restaurant right now does the black power symbol. Everyone in every restaurant right now does black power. Everyone do it right now. What would that solve? Would the world be better? Would racism be over? Would we solve police brutality that day? Come on. So this is where we get to the Weimar Republic, probably closer to Canada. Now, gather around, kids and Liberal Party members and Antifa. I'm going to teach you about how the Nazis came to power. And I've had this debate many times with people on the internet when the Antifa first started, and we had the punch a Nazi type thing. So in the Weimar Republic, this is Germany after World War I, before World War II. The strongest democracy in the world. How did it collapse? One, hyperinflation. They just started printing money. You can't just print money. That's not how you make an economy. You know, money isn't, you can't just print money and give it to people. It's not actual wealth. It's not actual value. It just causes hyperinflation. It destroys people's savings. And it's go down. Like Canada's just printing money every day. Justin's just printing money and handing everyone $2,000. That's step one towards the Weimar Republic. But what happened is, after hyperinflation hit, right, people started to get a bit desperate. They started to go to more extreme parties. And the way these extreme parties manifested, became bigger and bigger and bigger, was things like this with people on the street, thugs like the black shirts and the brown shirts. So the black shirts were the original Antifa. So people say, oh, the original Antifa, we were the people who fought the Nazis, we killed Nazis. They did, that was true. They were the black shirts. Then you had the brown shirts who did the same thing. They fought people in the streets and they attacked the communists. What happened though in the Weimar Republic is you had these desperate situations. You had economic downturns. Right now we have coronavirus and hyperinflation coming down the road. And what the Weimar Republic was is you had the Antifa, right? The anti-fascist, right? You had the rise of fascism. Benito Mussolini invented the fascist party. He was formerly part of the Socialist Party of Italy. Then he decided to sort of say, you know what, we're more hardcore, we're going fascist. Right? So you had these anti-fascists and the fascists. And what the brown shirts would do is the same thing as the black shirts, is they would have these thugs. So this is, you'd have the Nazi party and the Communist Party, right? But then wings of those parties were sort of these young men who just wanted violence. For the Nazis, they were the brown shirts. For the communists, they were the black shirts. And they would go into the streets and they would intimidate people into joining them. So if you were, let's say, a pretty centrist person in the Weimar Republic, and you came across a brown shirt, they would say, hey, you better, like, what are your beliefs? They'd grill you. And if you're not an absolute Nazi, they'd say, you're a communist, and they'd attack you. Punch a commie, we gotta kill the commies. Horrible, right? Crazy people. Nazis bad, fascists evil. However, if you're the same person, instead of taking a left on, you know, I don't know, German streets, Dusseldorf Street, and that's a place, you know, Schnitzel Street. You go take a left on Schnitzel Street, you hit the brown shirts. You take a right on Schnitzel Street, you hit the black shirts. So this person instead takes right. They're very centrist, they're reasonable. They run into the black shirts. The black shirts then say, hey, what the hell are you doing? What are your beliefs? Are you an absolute commie? Do you want to destroy the economy? Like, no, I'm pretty reasonable, I believe in democracy. They beat the living hell out of you, right? So what happened here is, one, like you now, they were blurring the lines of what is a Nazi. So the black shirts, the Antifa, would blur a line of what is a Nazi. Everyone to the right of us is a Nazi, right? And it blurred the lines. So when you call people who are just pro-democracy, not pro-communist, Nazis, you kind of blur the lines because Nazis and fascists are really, really evil. But when you started calling regular people Nazis, you blur the lines. The brown shirts did the exact same thing. Everyone to the left of them was a communist. And you blurred the lines to make regular people who just didn't want to join the Nazi party, you made them into communists. So you had this obfuscation of the literal definitions of what the extremists were. But then you had violence on the street. You had Antifa. You had the brown shirts. You had them going around. But now not only the lines blurred, but you had to choose a side. Because if you went out, and this is then the gang mentality. This is like where the Bloods and the Crips become entire societies. So if you go out, let's say you're a little bit to the right, you're, you know, center-right, let's say, and everyone's calling you a Nazi, and the communists were attacking you, well, these people would join the brown shirts for protection because they would fight back against people attacking them. And if you didn't join the brown shirts, the black shirts wouldn't love you any less, right? You just had no allies. And this kept and kept happening. The more Nazis that Antifa killed in the 1920s, early 1930s, you know, for everyone you killed, you know, 20 more people would join the brown shirts out of fear. Same thing for the brown shirts. For every communist they killed, right, more people would go join the Communist Party. And then you had more communists. Then you had more people attacking random people, which pushed more people into the fascists, which had more fascists, which attacked more regular people, which made more communists, right? This is the positive feedback loop. Then eventually one of those sides takes over. This time it was the Nazis and the brown shirts. And they took over. And that's how you had the rise of the Third Reich. That's what happened in the Weimar Republic. And that's what's happening now in Weimar America. So everyone, take a deep breath and calm down. And and it's not just America, this is Toronto. So let's bring up this tweet from Logan Couture, who is a all-star hockey player for the San Jose Sharks. And he just put this on Twitter today. So do we have the Logan Couture tweet here? Just bring it up. And what he was saying is, he was in a bar, and he was talking about this type of issue. He was talking about the issue, right? He was talking about what we were just talking about, okay? All right, and I'll read it to you. Did he take down the tweet? Anyway, we're fine. But he claimed that he was in a bar and he was just talking. He was talking about how his father is a police officer, and in this current climate, because his father is a police officer, he would probably end up voting Republican. Just talking to a guy in the bar. He says, I was talking about the election and potentially voting, and he said Donald Trump's name, and someone sucker punched him. Right? That's some Weimar nonsense. And that's Toronto. That's right here. It's the CN Tower. No, that's the CN Tower, right? That might have been where someone punched Logan Couture. So they just sucker punched Logan Couture because he had talked about maybe voting for Donald Trump. It's ridiculous, right? Is this, as I said, this is the Democrats' new campaign. The Democratic campaign is not Biden-Harris. It's the mob. Mob 2020. Obey, or we're going to hate you. So, again, what do you think regular people are going to do, right? When you say, you know what? Just Logan Couture talking in a bar, how because his father, who he probably loves, I'm going to go out there and just assume that Logan Couture loves his father. I know it's a pretty crazy stretch, but okay, I think he took down the tweet now. He loves his father, and he got a lot of flack for the tweet, and he would probably vote Republican because of all this anti-police sentiment and people taking things too far, right? Instead of people saying, oh, okay, I see what you mean. Like, maybe we should really, rephrase our messaging, maybe not defund the police, maybe not all police are racist, maybe we just should work on, police reform, right? The ideas that I suggested in the aftermath of the George Floyd incident, right? That's what I had suggested, right? But now you have people just attacking Logan Couture because he talked about, I love my dad, and I'm really concerned about the way things are going. And maybe even talking about the fact that, hey, people are just punching different people, right? So what are regular people going to think when they're like, people who just even talk about maybe being Republican are getting attacked? Like, do you think that's constructive? The guy who sucker punched Logan Couture, do you think you are doing the world a better place if you just, anyone who expresses any conservative opinions, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to punch him. Yeah, that will teach people. That will make the world a better place. Sure. But Trump's inspiring violence, guys. It's all Donald Trump's fault. Trump is the most violent guy to ever exist. It's all Trump's violent rhetoric. I'm sure the reason someone sucker punched Logan Couture is because Donald Trump said something stupid on Twitter. I'm sure that's what it really was. Okay. Our next story is from Toronto and a little restaurant called Foodbenders, which I'm going to use as an example for far left support of terrorism and how the globalist left ruins everything. Spoiler alert, Zionism inbound. So do we have the Instagram post from Foodbenders up here? Okay, so you can't really read it here, but essentially what this Foodbenders person is saying is they're talking about the fact that in Gaza right now, Hamas and Islamic Jihad, two listed terrorist organizations, are tying explosives and IEDs and candles to balloons and then floating them into Israel to cause fires, destruction, and mayhem, right? Shrapnel, so when kids see a shiny toy, it blows up and maims the kids there. And she's saying, this is resistance to the siege, and she's putting up balloons in solidarity with the terrorists floating incendiary devices into Israel, right? Doing that. And who is this lady at Foodbenders? Let's go back and tell you this whole story, because this is sort of what you need to know about the radical left and how the radical left is poisoning the world with her stupid ideas. So this restaurant, and I think it's a great story for conservatives to understand. This restaurant had, about a month ago, put up posts, in solidarity, let's say, with Palestinians, right? She's a far-left Palestinian activist. Fine, who cares? But then she started getting into the anti-Israel, anti-Semitic game, right? Started posting conspiracy theories about Israel, right? The blood libel, Israel's kidnapping her kids, stealing their organs. Then she did the no Zionist welcome at my store. So, here is a very interesting anti-discrimination case. Can you have a store where there are no Zionists allowed? I actually think yes, right? I think private businesses do have the right to refuse service for different things. Like, I'd be a hypocrite. I don't think a Christian or Muslim or whatever bake shop has to bake a cake for a gay wedding. I think they are a private business, and they have the right to refuse services to people they disagree with. Would I bake a gay wedding cake? Yes. Would people want to eat my gay wedding cake? No, I suck at baking. I can cook well, though. If you want me to make you some like gay meatballs, I'll do that. But gay cake, find someone else. But still, I think you have the right to refuse service. Again, I might not be the most popular person in the conservative movement for saying, I think that private stores and private businesses have the right to mandate masks. They're private businesses. They can say no masks, no service here. I don't think the government has that right to mandate masks, but I think private businesses do, right? This is called intellectual consistency. All right, so food vendors, I think they have the right to say no Zionist welcome. Now, I think that is deeply coded anti-Semitism, and I think the Jewish community has the right to say, F you, screw you, we're protesting your store, we're coming out, we're explaining why you're an evil person, and we can sort of lobby your suppliers to say, do you support this, right? And I think the Jewish community has the right to say, hey, this person wants to refuse services to us. Just like, listen, I don't think the government should arrest you. If you want to have a store and say no blacks allowed, I don't think that's a crime. However, if anyone has a restaurant that will not serve black people, I will join in any boycott. I will never go there. I will help you. I will use my platform to highlight that this restaurant is racist. I will encourage my thousands of followers to not go to that restaurant, to write emails to the suppliers of that restaurant to say, do you support this person? And then let the free market decide if everyone wants to get behind racism. And I would hope that that restaurant, because it was racist, would be shut down by the people. And then we don't need the government getting involved, but we can show that we're a decent society that doesn't support this type of stuff. That was my view on food vendors, right? So she ran the classic anti-Semitic gambit of all these different conspiracy theories, and do have the right to sort of refuse service to people on an ideological level. I think you have that right. But now let's get into sort of the deeper issues sort of going on behind here. If you're not new to this show, you know that I'm very openly quite Zionist. Now, if you're new here, some of you are like, okay, I could figure. Yeah, I don't care. Some of you are going crazy right now. Some of you are commenting, Zionism is blurred, and you're just going nuts. You're going nuts. You're posting, in 1974, Israel stole my grandfather's underpants, and that caused my grandmother to sneeze, and then that ends the world, and Israel, Zionism, blah. Have fun, right? But quit it with your globalist nonsense. Zionism is a very important ideology because it's nationalism. The reason I'm a Zionist, you can say, yeah, he's Jewish, is because I'm a nationalist, and I love Canada. Canada has the right to exist, and anyone who wants to subvert Canadian sovereignty to outside forces and says Canada doesn't have the right to self-determination, screw you. Yes, we do. Canada has the right to be a nation state. It has the right to exist. I believe Italy, the Philippines, Morocco are legitimate nations that have the right to exist. I believe Israel is a legitimate nation and has the right to exist. That's Zionism. It's just Israeli nationalism. And I don't run away from the word. I know it's a coded word and everyone wants to pretend like, oh, I won't call myself Zionist because I'll face fire and flack. No, that's a bad idea, right? That's the same thing for nationalism. And I've been saying this for a while, okay? The anti-Zionist movement was invented, it's the international left, it's globalist. It's all the worst people in history invented anti-Zionism. Don't believe me? Look up Johann von Leers. Johann von Leers was the second in command to Joseph Goebbels, who was Hitler's propaganda minister. Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister of the Nazis. Now, a lot of people know that Nazis after the war, a lot of them fled to South America to escape their punishment. South America was just kind of letting everyone in. And this, South America took in a lot more Jewish refugees than everyone else. They also took in more Nazi refugees than anyone else, okay? So this isn't me ragging on Argentina as being anti-Semitic. They were more open, okay, whatever. A lot of Nazis ran away there to escape what they did. However, lots of Nazis wanted to continue the fight and continue to try and exterminate the Jewish people. They went to Gamal Abdel Nasser's Egypt. Look up Johann von Leers. He did convert to Islam. I can't remember his Muslim name, but Johann von Leers will get you there. Him and his team, they went to work for Nasser, and they continued the fight. Now, it gets interesting. So you had Nasser, who was anti-Islamist, but he would then get in bed with the Soviets. So Nasser and Hafez al-Assad, Bashar al-Assad's father, they actually merged into an entity. They were like the same country for a year or whatever. Pan-Arab nationalism and all that. We don't need to get into specifics, but what you need to know is Egypt and Syria back in the day were under the Iron Curtain. They were socialist, right? So they were protected by the USSR. So what actually happened is the communists and the Nazis, who were arch enemies before, they united because they have a common goal, right? Islamists, fascists, socialists, communists, they all have a common goal, which is the destruction of Western civilization. And the way they started it is they rebranded anti-Semitism as anti-Zionism, right? They invented a new thing, anti-Zionism. And anti-Zionism, from its beginning, always the goal of anti-Zionism by the people who invented it, long-term goal, was the destruction of Western civilization and the Westphalian nation state. Because that is the core of our values. We are a nation in Canada. We have the right to exist. And the reason why I bring up the Zionist thing is, one, I'm not afraid, okay? I don't care. Listen, people of all certain spectrums will go freak out at the Zionism thing. Let them. It's a hot word. Don't run away from it, right? In the same way, don't run away from being a nationalist. People are trying to toxify the word nationalism as they did Zionism. Zionism is the civil rights movement of the Jewish people, right? Judaism is very big on the nation state. We're a people. Israel is a nation, has the right to exist, right? And all the lies are trying to undermine that. And I'm freaked out for our society because the same lies and insidious manipulative tactics used to undermine the term Zionism, to delegitimize the concept of the nation state when it applied to Israel, are now being used to delegitimize the concept of American nationalism and Canadian nationalism, right? Zionism is racism. No, it's not. Nationalism is racist. No, it's not. And we could go even further into detail here, but this is why I don't run away from the word, is because we have a lot of people, even on the right, who are anti-Zionists, yet they claim to be anti-globalist, anti-nationalist, okay? You can't be anti-Zionist and anti-globalist. You probably think you are. You're probably laughing right now saying, here's a conspiracy theory where Israel eats babies. Okay. Zionism just means the right for self-determination for Jewish people in the land of Israel, right to build a nation there. Doesn't preclude anyone else's right. There are 1.5 million Muslim Israelis. They have rights in Israel. They're part of cabinet. They have full rights. Right? There's a difference between Muslim Israelis, the 1.5 million of them, and Palestinians. And I'm not going to go into the details here and the minutiae. We can do that some other time. But Christians, the only country in the Middle East where the Christian population is increasing, Israel. Everywhere else they're getting genocided. Druze, Bedouins, right? Armenians, the only country in the Middle East where their populations are increasing. Israel, right? Everyone has rights. Like Canada is a Christian nation. I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not a Christian, but it would be wrong to say that there's no Christian roots to Canada. We have Christian roots, right? And I think Canada is legitimate as long as it respects the rights of minorities. Then you can be a Christian nation, right? I think that Christmas should be a statutory holiday. If the Prime Minister of Canada should go to a church on Christmas, be part of the midnight mass, I would switch up different denominations each year, right? And you should support the people, and Christmas is part of our heritage. Happy Easter, Merry Christmas, all of that, right? These are statutory holidays that should be Canadian because that is part of our identity. Now, Canada is legitimate as long as Jewish people have the right to take off their holidays from work. Muslim people have the right to take off holidays from their work. So you can have a Muslim nation as long as the rights of all other minorities are respected and equal within them. Now, here's the problem, is the Islamic Republic of Iran and Pakistan do not do that at all, so that's why they're illegitimate. It's not because they're Muslim, it's because they don't respect the rights of minorities. Right? But in Israel, if you're a Christian, you don't have to work on Easter. You don't have to work on Christmas. You can take those holidays off the way it should be. Right? That's what makes it a legitimate Jewish state. As long as it's open for everyone else, it's okay that there's one country in the world where Hanukkah is the statutory holiday, not Christmas, but as long as Christians have the right to take it off, then it's valid. So this is the insidious nature of the radical left. And I bring up the food vendors thing because the food vendors person is not a Islamist. She's not a Muslim provocateur, although all the Islamists have come and supported her. But she's a radical leftist. And these people are dangerous because they don't listen to truth. They're so hyper-aggressive that they even start to glorify terrorism, right? The people floating balloons into Israel for the purpose of causing fires. Again, for the last 2 years, southern Israel has been lit ablaze. Rockets have been falling, right? No one hears about it because the Israelis go inside and protect their people. They try and mitigate the damages. There was even a documentary. Hamas just released a documentary about the groups that float explosive devices into Israel. They don't hide the fact. They lie about it publicly. They say, no, we don't do this. But then they make documentaries saying, look at us doing this. Look how great they are. Give us money for our terrorist groups. That's what they do. But now you have a radical leftist who will watch a documentary of people floating balloons to cause fire, putting IEDs and explosives with colorful things to attract young children, toddlers. So toddlers see something on the ground and go, ooh, shiny, touch it, and they get maimed or killed. You have someone on the left glorifying this. In solidarity, she's putting up balloons in solidarity with the terrorists trying to murder Jews in Israel. What a nice lady she is. What a nice, nice lady she is. That's your radical left. And this is why I never run away from the Zionist thing, because I am warning you, Canada, America, every other Western nation, you want to go down the route of food vendors and the radical left and the anti-Zionist route, anti-Zionism turns into anti-Canadianism, turns into anti-Americanism like that. It's the exact same ideology. And we've allowed it to be funneled into our university for years. Qatar, Iran, Saudi Arabia back in the day have funneled hundreds of millions of dollars into Western universities to teach this nonsense with the express purpose of eventually undermining Western civilization. And people let it happen because, it's just the Jews, not us, it's just Israel. Yeah, I'm kind of against Israel because I heard Israel, sneezed one time and that's how cancer was created or whatever. Let this go at your own risk. That's all I'll say, is don't fight back against this. You want to fight globalism like I do? You want to fight against globalism? What country does the UN hate more than Israel? It spends literally more than half its time trying to condemn Israel over nonsense. You want to back the UN? You want to back the UN plan and the OIC's plan to undermine Israeli sovereignty, to assert that the UN has the right and international organizations have the right to dictate how Israel can and cannot respond to terrorist attacks? You want to set that precedent that the UN can respond to injustices different in the world? Okay, play that game. Our Prime Minister, Captain Blackface, literally copped to crimes against humanity last year. He came out, the report on missing and murdered Indigenous women, and I've talked a lot about how important it is for truth and reconciliation, or real truth and reconciliation. You want to set that precedent? Fine. We have a Prime Minister of Canada who admitted that he is currently complicit in crimes against humanity. He said we are actively right now committing a genocide. Genocide. Canada, 2020 Canada, 2019 Canada, is currently committing a genocide. He is the leader and currently presiding over active crimes against humanity. No, he's not. Justin Trudeau is a lot of things. He is not a mass murdering genocidal lunatic, okay? He claims to be. Justin Trudeau says he is a genocidal lunatic. Justin Trudeau says he is committing crimes against humanity. He is a genocidal leader. He says that, okay? He's proud of it. Now, no one takes him seriously at the UN because he's like, diversity is our strength, whatever. But you set the precedent that the UN can, intervene in national affairs if there's, whatever human rights abuses. Canada admitted, copped to crimes against humanity, right? What happens when the Conservatives get in? I guarantee you, the reason why they're not going after Trudeau is Trudeau's a stark globalist. You get a Conservative government in Canada who is not that globalist get into power, and I guarantee you, you're going to hear UN commissions the second they start to push back. Well, actually, Canada's currently committing genocide, and we need a UN oversight. We need UNDRIP, the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. We need UN protections here, right? You want to set the precedent that the international community can undermine national sovereignty if the radical left cries loud enough and a bunch of Islamists get angry? Go ahead. See how that works. And scream about globalism after you're allowed to go in. So all you anti-Zionists, have fun. I don't care. Like, post whatever anti-Semitic or anti-Zionist or whatever anti-Israel stuff on my page. Like, I really don't care. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I don't care. But what you don't get to do, you don't get to talk about anti-Zionism and then claim that you're fighting globalism. You don't get to do the bidding of the globalist UN and then claim you're fighting globalism. That's what you can't do. So say whatever you want. Post away, comment, get angry. I don't care. But you don't get to be a globalist, push your ideology, and then claim that you're fighting against it. That I won't abide. All right. Final story of the day is there's more trouble for Islamic relief worldwide. Now, I remember there was someone somewhere who had problems with Islamic relief worldwide. Who was it? Oh, that's right, me and other people, and Tom Quiggin, and Tahir Gora, and Raheel Raza, and Sohail Raza. And all of those people are being sued by Islamic Relief Canada for basically filing a government report saying that, hey, this organization, Islamic Relief Worldwide, which is listed as a terrorist entity by the United Arab Emirates and Israel, the Muslim majority of government of Bangladesh says there's concerns about extremism within our organization, HSBC Bank, UBS Bank, and a bunch of other charities have listed concerns of extremism from it. Middle East Forum, Santa Westphal, just said the Islamic Relief is the flagship organization of the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, we were all called racist, Islamophobic, and whatever for just bringing this up. I'm going to go into that afterwards, but there was just another controversy in Islamic Relief Worldwide. So Islamic Relief Worldwide had to fire the head because he had been pro-Hamas and and posted some anti-Semitic stuff. So pro-terrorist, anti-Semitic stuff. He was then fired. He was then replaced, and the person they replaced him with, he was pro-Hamas and then posted anti-Semitic stuff. So the entire board had to resign. Just happened again. Oops, they keep putting people in, and they keep finding that everyone they put in just happens to support Hamas and hate Jews. What are the odds that would happen in Islamic Relief, who has been called the flagship organization of the Muslim Brotherhood? What are the odds? 100%. Literally 100%. All right. So here's why it's important to keep the foot on the gas when it comes to the Muslim Brotherhood and Islamic Relief Worldwide and they're all the proxy groups, because it is the best thing for the Muslim community. Because the logic being applied to the Muslim community on this issue is very dangerous. And I've gone over it. If you don't know the Muslim Brotherhood, I suggest you look at the Muslim Brotherhood, what they say about themselves. One of their goals, their main goal is to establish a global caliphate. They have the same goals as ISIS, different means though. They're the pen over the sword, which makes them more dangerous. In Germany's opinion, the German government has said the Muslim Brotherhood is more dangerous than ISIS. Okay. One of their methods, as described by the Muslim Brotherhood, is they want to increase sort of fears and skepticism towards the Muslim community. They want to alienate the Muslim community in the West. And the reason why they want the Muslim community in the West to feel like they're under attack, to really fear that Islamophobia is around the corner, is because if they fear, right, the society they're in, they're more likely then to be drawn into the arms of the extremists, right? If a Muslim person just grows up in Canada, has a Hindu friend, has some Jewish friends, has some Christian friends, has some Muslim friends, gets along with everyone, they wear hijab or whatever, and they never really get any flack for it, and they're like, wow, Canada is a great place. I'm so glad everyone can get along. That person's not going to blow themselves up. That person's not going to fight to create the caliphate. That person's not going to join the Muslim Brotherhood. The person who will is the one who feels like they're under attack. Now, this is why I fight back against these organizations, because what they do, it's, as I said, the Khashoggi plan, right? This was the journalist that the Saudis chopped up. But Jamal Khashoggi, a Muslim Brotherhood guy, no journalist flees to Turkey to protect freedom of speech, the country that imprisons the most journalists in the world. But Khashoggi's big thing is he would say, okay, ISIS, they're the terrorists, they're the bad guys, they're so bad. Look at them burning people alive, chopping their heads off. That is bad, that's extremism. The Muslim Brotherhood, yes, there's some problems with the Muslim Brotherhood. Who is perfect? They're the moderates in the Middle East. You don't understand Middle East politics, Westerners. I'm from the Middle East. I understand. You don't understand. It's very complicated. These are the moderates. These are the extremists. In the actual fact, these are the crazy extremists. These are the less crazy extremists, and most Muslims are moderate over here. But what the Muslim Brotherhood does, and what their plan is, they like to be seen as the representatives for the Muslim community. And this is the Islamic Relief gang. This is the Muslim Brotherhood front group gang. Is they say, no, we are the representatives of the Muslim community. Look at any Linda Sarsour interview, and look at how her face lights up whenever they ask her to describe how all Muslims or all Arabs or all Palestinians think. She loves saying she represents all Muslims or all Arabs. She loves doing that. Be skeptical, like if I say, as a representative of the Jewish community, this is how the Jewish community thinks, stop watching the show. Turn me off, okay? I do not represent the Jewish community. More of them are silly lefties than I am. I mean, in order to represent the Jewish community, I'd have to literally dig a hole in the sand and stick my head into it. Unless I have my head stuck directly in sand, literally, I'm not representing the entire Jewish community. But they love saying they're the representatives. But this is the problem here, okay? The problem is you have obvious Muslim Brotherhood front groups, and they're legitimized by different politicians. The government of Canada gives tens of millions of dollars a year to Islamic Relief Canada. They also, right, the Muslim Association of Canada, which was openly Muslim Brotherhood. Politicians go there. So when politicians say, yes, 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 these are the representatives of the Muslim community, which the Muslim Brotherhood will always say it is, well, then what you're saying to regular Canadians is, wait, if they're the representatives of the Muslim community, then all Muslims must be like the Muslim Brotherhood. And if all Muslims are like the Muslim Brotherhood and they want to undermine Western civilization and cause a caliphate, well, then that's the view of all Muslims, and then, we should fight them, right? That's the logic it creates, right? Because if all Muslims are Muslim Brotherhood and the Muslim Brotherhood, if the Muslim Brotherhood is the representatives of the Muslim community, and the Muslim Brotherhood wants to undermine the Western civilization and take over it and destroy it, well, then isn't that the view of Muslims, that they want to destroy Western civilization, right? And then if you point this out, they say, oh, you're Islamophobic for coming after Muslims, right? Because then you have the radicals are over here saying they represent all the different people over here. This is what Omar al-Ghabra did. In Ontario in 2006, there was a vote over whether or not to establish Sharia courts in Ontario. And it lost. There were a lot of great Muslims, Rahil Raza, Tahir Gore, who led the charge inside the Muslim community against all this nonsense. 70% of Muslims in Ontario voted against Sharia courts. That's the majority, okay? But the people who voted for it, like Omar al-Ghabra, who excoriated the Muslim community for not voting for Sharia courts. He's currently parliamentary undersecretary to Justin Trudeau. He's a bigwig in the Liberal Party. He excoriated, was furious for Muslims in Ontario for refusing to vote for Sharia law. And he claims to be the representative. He claims that's the Muslim position, even though 70% voted against him. And we let them get away with it. And that's dangerous, because when the politicians hug the extremists and say, well, these are the Muslims, this is the true Islam, and then people look and say, okay, what's the Muslim Association of Canada thinking? What are their views on Jews and Christians and even Shiite Muslims? What's the Islamic Relief's views on this? Wait, if that's the representative of the Muslim community, then there must be something to be afraid of. And again, they love that because part of one of their tactics is to make Muslims feel afraid, make Muslims feel like there's Islamophobia everywhere. And the way you perpetuate that notion is you hug and say the people who want to destroy Western civilization, those are the real Muslims. Instead of looking at the moderates and the people who led the charge who against this stuff, who said, I love Canada, I left the Middle East to get away from this. Yes, I'm still Muslim, but we can live and coexist. That is the majority. However, we look at this fringe sect and we say, no, these are the representatives. Islamic Relief, that's the view of the Muslim community. You go against Islamic Relief, well, then you're Islamophobic. It's nonsense, right? And that's why I push back against it. Because no, I refuse to admit that the views of Islamic Relief Worldwide, who had its 2 people resign, an entire board resign because they support terrorism and they hate all Jews, I refuse to believe that that is representative of the entire Muslim community. I don't believe every Muslim wants to kill all the Jews like Hamas does. I don't. But pointing that out and going after the people who do want to is somehow labeled Islamophobic, and it's dangerous, and it has to stop. So that's been tonight's show. Thank you everyone so much for coming to watch this. We have exciting news here. Very soon, and starting in September, not only will there be a Wednesday night show of Uninterrupted, there will also be a Thursday night show. Named to be, don't worry, top secret, but coming September, Thursday nights, 7 p.m., in conjunction with the National Telegraph, Go Live TV. We're going to bring you even more content. Different people come on there. It's going to be great, huge, fantastic, super, even duper. So if you like this show, don't worry, every Wednesday night, 8 p.m., Uninterrupted for now. The date might change, time won't, but Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Thursday, 7 p.m., an even better show, even more me, well, less me. There'll be other people in the show, not just me. So it won't be straight rambling. There'll be other people. We'll have politicians, religious figures, comedians, dancers. I don't know any dancers, but maybe they'll come. There'll be toddlers, knife juggling, fire, cannons, elephants, tigers, bears, everything you want. That's a lie. So if you like the show, you can support us on Patreon, you can support PayPal, you can, if you don't like the Muslim Brotherhood suing me, you can support my GoFundMe. I'd really appreciate that. And thank you everyone so much for watching the show. I will be back to you next week, same bat time, same bat place. Good night.